Hi, my name's Sheehan, and today I'd like to talk about The Stripping of the Altars by Eamon Duffy. This book was published in 1992, and it became incredibly influential in the way we view the years leading up to, and indeed during and after, the English Reformation, particularly through the eyes of the average man and woman. Duffy structures this book in two parts. The first part is all about what he describes as the structures of traditional religion, and he goes back to roughly 1400 up to the 1530s and the break with Rome. And in this first part he describes how vibrant, beloved and central English Catholicism was to every community in the land. The people moved with the rhythms of the liturgical year, the saints' days, the feast days. The Mass, of course, was central to everybody's spirituality. There were guilds set up to help pay for devotional objects, to help set up shrines for saints, including many local saints which have now been almost forgotten. He talks about the primers, these prayer books, with much emphasis on the passion, the wounds of Christ and Mary and the saints, and sometimes even spilling over into perhaps more magical formula, but nevertheless well used and well loved by everybody. And he talks about the medieval preoccupation with death, the fear of hell, of course, but also purgatory, which is seen as, in very, hellish terms, albeit temporary, but very much a concern for masses and prayers being said for the dead. And of course, these are the years of the chantry chapels, and people leaving money in their wills for priests and to say masses for the dead. And of course the use of indulgences. Now, it's been somewhat traditional to view the years leading up to the English Reformation as a Catholic Church creaking at the seams, ready to collapse under its own weight of corruption and superstition. But Duffy doesn't paint it like that at all. For Duffy, and drawing on many contemporary church records, the Catholic Church is the very lifeblood of the English people. Now, in the second part of the book, which he calls The Stripping of the Altars, as in the title of the book, he moves on to the Reformation, beginning with Henry, of course, Henry VIII. And you've got to feel for these people, these poor parishioners, everyone really in England at the time of the 1530s all the way up to, the rest of the 16th century. It must have been such a terrible time of upheaval, of disorientation, of fear, of confusion. Beginning with Henry wanting his marriage annulled, and going into the Act of Supremacy and the 10 Articles. But despite all of these things, Henry himself still being a deeply conservative Christian, Catholic, without the authority of the Pope. And then with the tensions between the conservatives like Henry and the staunch reformers like Thomas Cromwell. And then, after Henry's death, 1547, Edward VI coming to the throne, and his under Lord Seymour, the Reformation really kicking in a radical way. This really is where the stripping of the altars happened, the destruction of images, these poor parishes, these poor church wardens been told to destroy vestments and images of the saints, relics, etc. But then a few years later, to go completely the other way with the accession of Mary, back to Catholicism again, and which Duffy regards as something of a relief to many people, and I well believe him, going back to the comforts of traditional religion, albeit in slightly under the spell of the Counter-Reformation. But then of course that's a terrible time as well in terms of the sheer volume of persecution and execution of Protestants. And then we come to Elizabeth, who again, under Elizabeth, sure enough, the images are taken again, the church furnishings are taken, the rood screens, etc. And these poor church wardens, clergy, worshippers at the time must have just been devastated at every turn during these turbulent years. And of course by the 1570s, 1580s, the traditional religion was becoming something of a distant memory, perhaps dying out, and with the various prayer books coming into play. And of course during Elizabeth's time, with Bishop Hooker, etc., we get to Anglicanism roughly how we know it today. So what a roller coaster ride for all these poor people. And Duffy researches this all meticulously. I mean, the records he must have gone through in churches in East Anglia, Kent, you know, wherever, is extraordinary. And you can tell in the many quotations from such records in the original English. Now Duffy, I guess, is very critical of course of the Reformation, and I guess it's a well-needed balance from other views which are more Protestant leaning. But I guess it's essential reading for anybody interested in this subject. So yeah, a long read but a very interesting and thought-provoking read. And a rather sad read, just thinking about the average person trying to live a good life, you know, trying to worship God in their own way, humble way, but yet to be faced with all these seismic upheavals. Please check out the brief slideshow afterwards, going through what each chapter's about, and thank you for watching. Bye.